Pablo Aimar was the player I admired the most. Apart from Maradona, who always comes first for Argentines, I loved him very much. Those words were not spoken by a random fan. They were spoken by Lionel Messi, the greatest player in the history of football, when asked about his childhood idol. Not Pelé, not Maradona, not Ronaldo, not Zidane, not Cruyff, Pablo Aimar. Here is the paradox that defines Pablo Aimar. He won 2 La Liga titles. He won the UEFA Cup. He was the magician who orchestrated Valencia's majestic attack in the early 2000s. He was called El Payaso, the clown, for the joy and magic he brought to every match. And yet, for most casual football fans outside Argentina, his name barely registers. He never won the Champions League. He never made a Ballon d'Or podium. He was never the cover star of FIFA. He played in an era of Galacticos and superstars, overshadowed by names like Zidane, Figo, and Rivaldo. But here is the truth that the headlines won't tell you. The player who was too fragile, too quiet, too understated for the modern football machine became the blueprint for the greatest footballer of all time. This is the story of Pablo Aimar, the idol's idol, the genius who redefined the game, not with force, but with joy. And the man who, 20 years later, is still shaping the future of Argentine football from the bench. Here is what no one was talking about when Messi first watched Aimar play for River Plate. Aimar was not built for modern football. At 1.70 meters, he was too small, too fragile. He was the kind of player that the new football, the football of physicality, of pressing, of intensity, threatened to leave behind. But he had something that could not be coached, could not be bought, could not be replicated. Para mí, el character es pedirla siempre. For me, character is always demanding the ball, he once said at just 18 years old. But for others, character is throwing 10 kicks. Born in Rio Cuarto, Argentina, on November 3, 1979, Aimar grew up playing street football, kicking a ball against walls, learning to dribble through legs and around corners. He was discovered by a youth coach without even a trial. The man simply saw him play and knew. He rejected a place at medical school to pursue football. He almost left River Plate's academy because he hated the boarding school, couldn't stand being away from his family. It took a personal phone call from the first team coach, Daniel Passarella, to convince him to stay. That is not the origin story of a manufactured superstar. That is the origin story of someone who played because he loved it. And that love never left him. He never lost that joy of playing football, Messi would later say, explaining why he chose Aimar as his idol. Not because of trophies, because of joy. To understand why Aimar was so special, you have to understand the era he played through and the football he refused to abandon. The late 1990s and early 2000s were the golden age of the Argentine playmaker. Juan Roman Riquelme, Ariel Ortega, Marcelo Gallardo, and Aimar. But Aimar was different from the others. While Riquelme moved at a glacier's pace, dictating tempo with a languid style that bordered on arrogant, Aimar was vertical, direct, always looking forward. Yo en river era muy rápido, gambetetter, miraba siempre para adelante, he explained. I was very fast, a dribbler, always looking forward. Valencia CF signed him in January 2001 for €24 million, a massive sum at the time. And he immediately justified the investment. In the 2001-2002 season, he helped lead Valencia to their first La Liga title in 31 years. The following season, they finished runners-up in the Champions League, losing to Bayern Munich on penalties. In 2003-2004, they won the double, La Liga and the UEFA Cup. At his peak, Aimar was unplayable. One contemporary analysis from 2001 described his strengths. His main strength is the dribbling. He has the ability to pass 3 or 4 players like Ortega usually does, but unlike Ortega, he is a better passer, and he passes the ball more often. The same analysis noted his weakness. His main weakness is defense. He isn't a player with a big body, so he may be pushed around quite often, especially against quick, big defenders. That weakness would limit his global recognition, but it never limited his genius. In an era when the game was becoming faster and more physical, Aimar refused to compromise. He played for joy, for expression, for the pure love of the ball at his feet. And a young boy from Rosario was watching. Let me take you back to the moment that set all of this in motion, the rise of El Payaso. At River Plate, Aimar was a phenomenon. He made his first team debut at just 16 years old, on August 11, 1996. By the time he left for Valencia in 2001, he had won 3 Argentine League titles and established himself as one of the most exciting young players in world football. His nickname, El Payaso, the clown, was not an insult. It was an acknowledgement of the joy he brought to the pitch. He never lost that joy of playing football, Messi said. And that joy was visible in every touch, every dribble, every no-look pass. But Aimar never felt comfortable with the nickname. He preferred to be remembered simply as someone who understood football at its purest level, as a game. This is the detail that separates him from almost every other professional footballer. He never saw football as a job. He saw it as play, as expression, as art. In 2006, Aimar was diagnosed with acute viral meningitis. He was hospitalized. His career was in jeopardy. His life was in jeopardy. But he recovered. He returned to play. And he kept playing until 2015, 18 years as a professional. He won trophies at River Plate, at Valencia, at Benfica. He played 53 times for Argentina, scoring 8 goals. He went to 2 World Cups, 2002 and 2006. But the numbers do not capture the player. The numbers do not capture the joy. Now, let me show you the evidence, because the numbers, while not staggering, tell the story of a player who was always in control. The trophy cabinet. 2x Spanish champion, Valencia, 2001 to 2002, 2003 to 2004. 1x UEFA Cup winner, Valencia, 2003 to 2004. 1x Portuguese champion, Benfica, 2009 to 10. 2x Argentine champion, River Plate, 1999 Apertura, 2000 Clausura. UEFA Super Cup winner, Valencia, 2004 to 2005. FIFA U20 World Cup champion, Argentina, 1997. The individual brilliance. In the 2001 to 2002 title-winning season, he played 33 La Liga matches, scoring 4 goals, not a striker's numbers, but the numbers of a creator. In 2003 to 2004, the double-winning season, he made 25 league appearances and contributed 3 goals. But the moment that defined his career was not a trophy. It was a performance. In the 2004 UEFA Cup final against Marseille, Aimar orchestrated Valencia's 2-0 victory. He was the best player on the pitch. The magician, the genius. His former coach, Rafa Benitez, called him an exceptional talent. Opponents feared him. Teammates revered him. And a 17-year-old Lionel Messi watched from Argentina, dreaming of one day playing alongside his idol. That day would come. This is where the story turns, from genius to twilight. Because even the most beautiful careers eventually fade. In 2006, Aimar left Valencia. He moved to Real Zaragoza, then to Benfica, then to a brief spell in Malaysia. The injuries mounted. The magic flickered. But here is the complication that most fans don't know. Aimar never stopped learning, never stopped evolving. And when he finally hung up his boots in 2015, he immediately began a new chapter, one that would bring him back to the game he loved, but from a different angle. In 2017, he was appointed head coach of Argentina's U17 national team. In 2018, he became an assistant coach for the senior national team, working under Lionel Scaloni. And in 2022, he stood on the sidelines as Argentina won the World Cup in Qatar, the same competition where, 16 years earlier, he had played alongside a young Lionel Messi. Yo decía por ejemplo que el sábado a las 16 llegaba el Barcelona, y él nunca te falaba. O podías ir al cine y la película está buena, o no está buena. Pero Messi nunca te falaba. I used to say, Saturday at 4 p.m., Barcelona played, and he never let you down. You could go to the cinema, and the movie might be good, or it might not. But Messi never let you down. That is Aimar's own description of Messi. The student had surpassed the teacher, and the teacher could not be prouder. But here is the moment that everyone remembers, and it happened on a bench, not on a pitch. World Cup 2022. Argentina versus Mexico. The group stage. The game is tied 0-0. Argentina's World Cup hopes are hanging by a thread. Then, in the 64th minute, Messi scores. A thunderbolt from outside the box. The stadium erupts. The players mob him. And on the bench, Pablo Aimar, now an assistant coach, breaks down in tears. The image went viral. The world saw something that had been true for 2 decades, the deep, profound respect and admiration between these two Argentine legends. Messi had fulfilled his promise. He had surpassed his idol. And Aimar, the man who taught him that football could be played with joy, sat on the bench weeping with pride. Messi no te falló nunca el plan, Aimar said in 2025. Messi never failed the plan. After the World Cup victory, Aimar continued his role as an assistant coach. In 2025, he was invited to speak at an agricultural congress, not a football event, and he delivered a message that transcended the sport. A veces pienso que juega pensando, en que hay alguien que todavía no lo vio. Sometimes I think he plays thinking that there is someone who hasn't seen him yet. That is the highest praise one footballer can give another. Not about trophies, not about goals, about the joy of playing for those who haven't yet witnessed greatness. Here is what I want you to take away from this story. Pablo Aimar won 2 La Liga titles. He won a UEFA Cup. He was the orchestrator of one of the most beautiful teams in European football history. But his legacy is not measured in trophies. His legacy is Lionel Messi. The greatest player of all time looked at Aimar and saw something he wanted to become. Not just a footballer, a player who played with joy, who never lost the love for the game, who saw football as art, not industry. In Iraq, a 23-year-old midfielder named Aimar sure carries his name, named by a father who idolized the Argentine magician. In Argentina, a generation of young players is being coached by Aimar's philosophy. Hacemos hincapié en cosas básicas porque cuando uno incorpora en la vida que hay en otro, y es más fácil entender to do, we emphasize basic things because when you incorporate into life that there's another person, it's easier to understand everything. Aimar never wanted to be a superstar. He avoided media attention. He refused to give sensationalist headlines. Yo soy un embole para dar notas. I'm boring for interviews, he admitted. And yet, his influence stretches across generations. From River Plate to Valencia. From the U-17 Argentina team to the World Cup winning bench. From a young boy in Rosario to the greatest player in history. So here's my question to you. Do you agree with Lionel Messi? Was Pablo Aimar the most beautiful player of his generation? And does he deserve more recognition for shaping the game's greatest talent? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of football's most underappreciated geniuses, the idol's idol, the player who played with pure joy, subscribe to the channel for more stories from the beautiful game. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.